It was a landslide in St. Catharines Monday. Matt Siscoe won the right to lead the city for the next 4 years. Matt joins us in studio today. You know, Matt, you captured more than 68% of the vote.
Yep.
I have to admit, on election night, I said it publicly, I thought it was going to be closer. Were you surprised that it was so lopsided?
How lopsided it was, yes. We were confident that we had a good lead. We had been talking to a lot of people, thousands of people across the city over the last 6 months. And so I kept telling people, this is the best sense I've ever had at the door that things were going really well. But the size, that was definitely, I won't say a shock, but we were surprised, happy. I mean, it was exactly the result, the best result we could have possibly hoped for. But yeah, it was even for us a little bit surprising. 12
years ago, when you ran for council for the first time, did you have your sights on becoming mayor someday?
I don't think so. I've changed a lot over 12 years. Admittedly, when I got elected as a 30-year-old, I had very different ambitions. And not having been employed in politics up to that point, I had a very different sense of what politics was. For the first couple of years, I was definitely more partisan and thought a lot about provincial and federal politics. I dipped my toe in, and I learned a whole lot of humility from that experience, but I also discovered that I didn't really like partisan politics. I didn't enjoy, having to repeat what a party had to say, being a voice for whoever the party leader was. So I think I shifted my gaze a little bit after that, and municipal politics became the thing that I wanted to focus on. So I've sort of distanced myself from party politics over the last few years. I still have friends, obviously, and I help out with friends' campaigns. But I think my gaze shifted at that point. And I had the benefit. I've been able to watch two really good mayors. Brian McMullen, I think, did a lot for our community. Working with him in my first term, and then Walter, I've been able to watch Walter and see how he's grown as a politician and into the mayor's job. I think he's done a really good job. I'm different from both of them, and I know that. And I think I'll have different focus from both of them, but I've learned a lot of lessons from them. And the biggest one probably being, just how to work with the people around the horseshoe, because ultimately the mayor has to get the buy-in from a majority of council if he or she wants to move the city in the direction they think's the best. So that's the goal at this point.
You mentioned two mayors that were actually there Monday night to congratulate you.
Yep.
Both were two-term mayors, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Can we expect you to be hopefully a two-term mayor?
That's my expectation. That's most.
But not a three-term? Will you make the same decision as Walter Sendzik did?
I think so. And I'll be honest, this was a conversation between my wife and I. And, I had been looking at this and wanted to do this, and she was very clear. She said, listen, I want you to do this. I want to support you in this, but I don't want this to be the rest of your career, and I don't want it either. I think in the mayor's position, I think you bring somebody in every 2 terms, maybe a third if there's an issue that needs to be addressed over a 3rd term, but I don't foresee that necessarily.
Is Chrissy taking some heat that she's now the First Lady of St. Catharines?
Mostly from friends. It's tongue-in-cheek. I don't think either of us look at it quite that way, but the discussion between us was, 2 terms. And I think it's good. You need new blood, you need new ideas and fresh ideas in the mayor's seat every couple of terms. And for me, I'm pretty confident that what we've laid out is achievable over 8 years. But voters are going to have a chance halfway through that to think if I'm doing it the way I said I was going to. And if they agree, then we get another chance to finish the job.
You've promised to tackle the housing problem in St. Catharines. How are you going to do that?
We have a bunch of different ideas, strategies that have worked in other places. We have access to our community improvement plan. We want to make some changes to that and work on incentivizing more affordable housing specifically. But we have underused pockets of the city, areas that we think we can incentivize as well for denser housing developments that also won't impact surrounding neighborhoods. That's one of the issues that we've really had to tackle over my last 12 years on council is we know there's a need for greater density, but locating that density is really important, and locating it properly. You don't want to run into neighborhood backlash because that slows the process down, and based on the changes that are coming out of the province recently, they're not going to allow that to happen. But if we can shift developers towards underused, unused pockets of the community where they're not going to impact pre-existing neighborhoods, I think we're going to get better outcomes for everybody.
Some people have pointed out the homelessness and drug use problem in downtown St. Catharines.
Yep.
So much was done to improve downtown St. Catharines on an infrastructure and building basis and bringing new residents into downtown. How do you solve that problem and make downtown what I guess the vision of the previous two mayors were for it?
Well, you've hit on something important. I talked a lot about there being a strong foundation in our community, and I think downtown specifically has a very strong foundation. But the homelessness issue is something that is now on the minds of people across the city. When I started the campaign, I expected it to be an issue in the downtown. I expected it to be an issue in the Glenridge area being close and in the Meriton area being close. But it didn't matter if you were in Port Weller or Meriton or Port Dalhousie, people wanted to talk about it. It's much more visible now. And in speaking to people who have been in tent encampments over the last 6-8 months, they'll talk about their concerns. They need safe shelter. They need somewhere where they feel secure. We need to do a better job of advocating to the province for greater funding, because we know Niagara is underfunded when it comes to dealing with homelessness. When we compare ourselves to other municipalities, we don't get the same per capita. We need to do a better job of advocating, and we need to do a better job of creating that transition housing and the permanent housing that is needed, because ultimately we're not going to solve the homelessness issue until we get people into homes. And the region has adopted a housing first mentality. That's a good idea. That's what's working in other places. Now we need the commitment to actually build that out and to get people off the streets. But we need places for them to go where they feel safe and secure, or none of this is going to work.
It's a complicated issue.
It is.
Matt, I want you to take a look around the studio. As you know, Walter Sendzik ran his program, Our Home STC,
Yep.
out of this studio. Will you feel comfortable doing that here?
I will probably have some hiccups along the way. I have no doubt of that, but I'm very comfortable and happy to take on that task. I think it's a good opportunity to expose the community to the things that are happening.
Congratulations on your victory.
Thank you very much.
We look forward to seeing that show begin soon.
Thank you.